Good morning, everyone. And so today we will be talking a bit about A360 Collaboration for Revit, which is, as mentioned, a way of working collaboratively across offices and with individuals. So today we'll do a basic overview of how it works and some of the systems involved. We'll do some demonstrations of how it actually works in Revit, and also looking at the management through A360 team, overview a few key facts about it, and then we'll move on to Q&A. So as an IT consultant for many years, my clients frequently faced issues with multi-site collaboration with Revit. In some cases, this might be a company that had multiple offices. In some cases, they might need to work with in real time or work collaborative with consultants, contractors, local architects. In many cases, the most basic element of that collaborative process, namely transmitting the models between locations, that alone is a major challenge, mostly because Revit was initially designed for real-time local collaboration. So we've been looking at technologies ranging from FTP for the old school. Sometimes people would use email, but when you're dealing with larger files, that could be insufficient. Sometimes people would try WAN acceleration, and that could help a little bit, but there were some other aspects of the communication where WAN acceleration really was not sufficient. There were web-based transmittal methods like uSendIt, now Hightail. More recently, we've had technologies like Revit Server, which is developed by Autodesk. And we've also had some people attempting Dropbox, or you might have services like Submittal Exchange, which focus a little more on trying to get the information across not just models, but getting some information. While these services have their strengths, ultimately many of them are not really suitable for real-time Revit collaboration. So for example, if you tried to use Dropbox to have multiple people working on Revit at the same time, it would wind up being a mess. It would likely corrupt your files, and it really would not work. And some people might try to do things where, you upload a model to it and then you copy it off and you copy it back on, but it's very complicated. So other services like Revit Server can be really good for larger offices that are trying to connect locations. There are some issues with Revit Server in that it can require significant IT investment. It can require quite a bit of time to set up and to maintain. So Autodesk took a look at some of the various solutions that were going on, and they came up with what I would regard as a unique solution. But first, I just want to clarify that kind of the model of a lot of the old solutions was basically everybody working in their own local office, connecting to their local file server, and just trying to send stuff back and forth via the internet. So the solution that Autodesk has developed is a cloud-based concept, A360 Collaboration for Revit. The idea basically is fairly straightforward. The models are stored in the cloud. Each user winds up connecting to that cloud model. They're actually going to be working off of a local cache, which is created at each workstation. So in most respects, the workers will be, the staff will be working like they're normally working. They're working off of local files, and the only time that they really need to connect to an internet-based service is just when they're doing sync to central. In order to speed up the process, all changes are constantly downloaded in the background. So as you're working, if you are idle, then A360 Collaboration for Revit will push out all the new changes to each individual workstation. Another great feature of this is that it is fully integrated into Revit, and we'll see a little bit more about that in the demo section. For management, they use a new system, which is A360 Team, which leverages a lot of the existing A360 technologies. It's a project-based system which includes contact information, communication tools, security options, and data storage. So this is fairly straightforward idea. So let's go into some demonstrations. This is the A360 dashboard. So as you can see again, let's head to the dashboard. So when you first come in, you can see recent activity. You can see that a couple of people have joined. We've got some roles and some items that were looked at. They have some helpful files. At pretty much any point, you can upload files. So again, it's very project-centered, which is going to be very familiar for a lot of architectural workflows. And we have here our test project. And from right here, you can invite someone to the project. And what this will do is it sends an email to that individual, and they will be given the option to join the project. And if they don't have an existing A360 account, they can create a free account. And the free account will have the option to, for example, view files and upload data and download data. They will not be able to collaborate on a Revit project unless they have a paid account. So let's take a look at what's actually in a project. So this is the project dashboard, and again, we can see we've got our project members, we've got recent activity, and over here, you can also go and take a look at some data. So as you can see, we've got some images here. If we click on them, then we can view them, and it's got a nice little viewer. You can share this, and we'll do some sharing a little later. And you can also share Word documents, you can share PDFs. There's a lot of options here. Now, when we look at a model, it brings up the viewer. Sorry about that. And this usually does work a little better in Chrome right now than Internet Explorer. So here we have a 3D model. We can pan around a little bit, zoom out, zoom in. We have some options to isolate. So you can look at a specific element, reset it. Explode the model. For those of you who haven't seen this already, basically just kind of brings it apart a little bit. And then from there you could focus on an object. There's some options for looking at model structure. You can look at some walls. And if your Revit model has sheets, we can take a look at those. So obviously this would be very handy for someone who is in the field. They don't necessarily have to have a full copy of Revit. They will get the most updated versions. So if you have someone who's working with a contractor, they're on a construction site, and they just want to grab a plan real quick, it's very easy to do so. And also share this. So as you can see, we have a couple of options here. We can allow people to download the item, or we can set some privacy. If we don't set any specific privacy, then anyone who has this link will be able to take a look at the model. You can email it, you can embed it in a website. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to pop open an incognito window. So this incognito window doesn't know who I am. It doesn't know that I'm logged into A360. So this is basically the same thing that anyone who had that link would see. So we have just another version of that viewer. So again, very easy for sharing with clients, with contractors, consultants, and it's all in real time. Oh, can you folks see the model? Okay. My apologies if you're having any technical difficulties seeing the model. All right. So in addition to a web-based option, there is also a mobile. So this is a little video I put together. And you use an app to log into A360. And we've got a couple of hubs in there. Hub is sort of an overall organization. So here's my project. Take a look at some activity. And let's take a look at some data. So this is on an iPhone 5S using a normal Wi-Fi connection. The applications should be available for iOS and Android. And of course, as with usual, they will be updated regularly. So as with the web interface, again, we've got our 3D model. We can zoom in. We can pan around. And this will also work on tablets. So you could send someone out into the field with a tablet. They could show the objects. And also pull up sheets. The mobile also has options for markups. So we'll just do a quick little one here. And just add a basic gesture or undo it, and instead put in text or an arrow, or in this case, a box. This can then be saved to your mobile device, or you can mail it directly to a colleague. So again, very handy, great if you've got someone who just wants to use a tablet in the field. So these are the basic management tools, just a quick overview of that. So what does it actually look like when we go into Revit? It pretty much looks the same as any other work that you're doing. So you just have to be logged into Autodesk 360. When we open our file, on the left side we have an option for A360. And you'll see that we have 2 projects that are currently available. Let's go into our main test project. One thing you may notice as well is that Detach from Central and Create New Local are grayed out. The reason for this is that you don't really need these options anymore. A360 Collaboration for Revit is creating that local version for you. And again, all the changes are being automatically downloaded in the background. And again, this is real-time opening. Okay, and just give it a minute to refresh. Oh, my apologies, hang on. That is not normal. So just give me 1 second. My apologies for the delays. All right, there we go. Sorry about that, folks. So, again, we have all the normal Revit interfaces. This is actually Revit architecture. So what does A360 add? One item that it adds, very important item, is the communicator. So we can see in here right now, Reed and Tim are, well, Reed was looking at something and now he's out. Tim is there. There's Roger. Hi, Roger. So the communicator has a couple of different panels to it. This is kind of an overview. From here, you can send a message to the entire team. And this chat history will remain. You can add some contacts, and from here you can directly message or email these individuals. Another nice feature of the chat is we can do a screenshot. So as we mentioned, a lot of the other tools, such as Revit Server, for example, don't really have this kind of communication capability. And with A360 Collaboration for Revit, it's right in there. You don't necessarily need to be sending emails to a couple of people or to the team. You can just let people know what's going on while you're working and just keep the communicator panel open. Another nice feature is that you can see a timeline. So you can see when something was saved to Central. And this is similar to the work sharing monitor. So I'm just going to do a quick synchronize. And otherwise, working in the model is going to work at pretty much your normal pace. Again, it's just running off of the local cache. So the only part that might be a little slower than what you're accustomed to is just sync with Central. But even that is not going to be too much longer, as you can see, because a lot of the information is downloaded in the background. And we see there's a little notification here. And it's from Roger. There we go. So we see that Roger uploaded some renderings, lets us know who did it and what time this chat was sent. Another handy feature, and sort of a backup feature as well, is in managing A360 models. So again, all I did was hit the Manage button, go into our test. So here is our model. So from here, we have some actions, and one of these is View Versions. So every time you do a sync with Central, it takes a snapshot. And if you need to, you can restore earlier versions, which is really great in case you run into any problems. So this is the primary form of backup that A360 Collaboration for Revit is offering. Now, what about adding something to A360? That's actually fairly simple. Let's open our sample project. And we are right in the Collaborate tab. And we hit our Collaborate button. Collaborate using A360. And we can pick what project we want it to go into. And it's just going to start collaborating. And while I'm doing this, it looks like Roger is doing a couple more screenshots. So for the most part, you can see that A360 Collaboration for Revit just goes right into your workflow. It doesn't really require a great deal of IT work or configuration. You basically just need to set up the project in A360 team and invite the individuals, make sure that the local computers have updated to the latest versions of Revit and put on a patch, and that's pretty much it. If you compare this to something like Revit Server, that's going to require setting up a server. You're going to only get one point to another point. And again, that works great for some situations, but for other situations where if you have people in the field, if you have someone who is traveling, if they're going to and from a construction site, A360 Collaboration will work right on whatever computer that they're working on. So hopefully this gives you a pretty good idea. We may come back to the demo if we have to, but let's review a couple of quick key facts about how it works. So for security, hang on, close. For security, it's subject to the same agreements, SLAs, and configurations as Autodesk's managed cloud services. So if you go to trust.com, Autodesk.com Trust Overview, this goes into detail about privacy, quality, security. In addition to this, there's a level of security that is set in the project themselves. So again, we have our project members. A key point when it comes to the security on a project level is that anyone who is a project member has access to any data that's in that project. So Timothy, for example, has the ability to review and download any of the files that are in here. Fortunately, it's very easy to create another project, to add people to the project. So if you need to be a little more locked down in terms of security, you just have to work on the project. In addition, only specific type of roles are able to invite people. So the team owner can invite people. There's a project administrator, I believe, which can invite people. So there are certain conditions, but you do have to be aware that this is a little more on the open side as opposed to something like Revit Server or a desktop as a service option. This is offered as an Autodesk Cloud Service subscription. So it's offered quarterly and annually. And every individual who needs to actively collaborate on a Revit model that's in A360 Collaboration for Revit has to have a paid membership. So if they only need to view, then they can go with a free. This is only available for North America at this time. We do not currently have an ETA for international. One reason for this, by the way, is that the A360 Collaboration for Revit, and I believe the other A360 data services, are all operating using Amazon S3's servers, which are located in Virginia. So there may be some security issues, there may be some issues about American ownership of the data. You should keep in mind, for those who are concerned about that type of security, that it is living on servers in the United States. This is for Revit 2015 only, and the collaboration portion extends only to models. So in terms of sharing data, uploading data, you can upload whatever you want, but in terms of real-time collaboration, it is only with the models. However, you do have the ability to link Revit models in A360 Collaboration for Revit. So if you have 2 or 3 or 4 models that are all linked, they're all in A360 Collaboration for Revit, everything will update. All the changes and all the linked models will be pushed out in real time. You can have an unlimited number of projects. So again, let's say you need to set up another project for security purposes, or you just want to keep a phase in a separate project. You can create as many projects as you want. And in terms of storage space, you get 10 gigabytes of storage space pooled per paid team member. In terms of performance, you saw pretty much how it works, and what Autodesk says is it's quote-unquote Revit server on the accelerator side. So for the most part, you're working locally, and sync to central or uploading may be a little bit slow sometimes, but in terms of, in comparison to a lot of the other options, this is very fast, and it should help your people work very quickly. In terms of bandwidth, it's approximately 2 megabits per second per user. So if you have a large office, you may just want to keep an eye on, and you have a lot of people using the service, you may just want to keep this in mind. This is just a very broad approximation. I would only use it as a napkin sketch. But that should give you a rough idea of how much it's used. Last but not least, if you're interested, you can contact your Microsol account executive, or you can email us at info@microsolresources.com for a 30-day demo. And that 30-day demo should be fully featured, so you would be able to work and collaborate in real time, test and see how it works in your environment, see how linking models works for you, see if the collaboration portions get used to that function.